Whoever knows himself knows his Lord. So there's a connection here. Knowing yourself points you to the one who created you. Just as when you look at a painting, a beautiful work of art, you want to know the artist. So you want everything that comes up within you to be a means of knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and connecting you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillahi walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and peace be upon you all. Welcome to week 4 of this series, Awaken and Align. Today, the topic is on Muraqabah and the connection between mindfulness and Islam and the importance of Muraqabah for our well-being, not just spiritually, but mentally and emotionally. So as we all know, our heart is a sensitive tool within us. It's not a tool within us that stays in its state, in the state that it's in permanently once you arrive at that state. Its nature is to flip. And that's why we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya muqallib al-qulub, sabbit qulubana ala dinak, right? O turner of hearts, make our heart firm on this deen, on our faith, on Islam, on the straight path. And so we understand this heart in its nature is to flip. And it's sensitive. And that's why the more you do this work of tazkiyah and you really work on being connected to this heart and connecting it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you understand how fragile it is, how sensitive it is to what we expose it to our interactions with the world, how sensitive it is to our actions. So when you do this work, you gain the sensitivity to your heart. It's the importance of it to be turned towards Allah. And so you'll always hear me say that the heart is the most powerful tool within us. But in order for this heart to be awakened and directed, we have to gain control of it. We have to work on our nafs, but we have to be present with these tools within us. And this is essentially what mindfulness is. In the psychology world, mindfulness is a popular concept. And essentially what mindfulness is for you to learn to be a witness, a witness over what is coming up within you. So without judgment, that's what mindfulness is. For you to be a witness over your inner world and your inner experiences while withholding judgment. So you are watching or you're witnessing what's happening within you without adding value or placing value on what's happening, on your thoughts, on your emotions, on your inner experiences, your feelings. So you're just witnessing it. That's what mindfulness is. And mindfulness has everything to do with being a witness without judgment, so you don't react, you learn how to respond. And there's a difference between reaction and responses. Being reactive is you just quickly, you have a feeling, you react. You have a thought, you react, especially if people struggle with waswasa or they struggle with, negative or intrusive thoughts. If you are not used to practicing this mindfulness and sitting with what is coming up within you, sitting with difficult emotions, being a witness over what's happening without judgment, without adding value to what's happening, you are going to be reactive. You're going to have anything difficult internally, you're going to react. So the more you do this work of sitting with discomfort, of practicing mindfulness, where you learn to hold space essentially for what is coming up within you, so that you give yourself the time to assess what is true, what is aligned with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what requires your response and how you should respond effectively. So it is a muscle, it's a skill. Just like when you work out, there's certain muscles, there's certain workouts, there are certain fitness routines that you have to keep practicing for you to excel at. It's the same thing with what I call in my home method, psychospiritual muscles. You have muscles that are not just physical. You have muscles that are psychological. You have muscles that are spiritual, that we often think should just be strengthened just like that. And this is what happens. People pray or they do dhikr a little bit and they're like, why am I not, getting strengthened spiritually, it takes time. We don't expect that we're going to do a workout and we're going to, be strengthened right away. So why do we expect the same when it comes to our psychological, our mental, emotional, and our spiritual muscles? We should be patient with them, also strengthening. So mindfulness is a skill. It's a muscle that you have to build. And what it does, it allows you to really learn how to slow down and be present with yourself, be connected to yourself. But now we're going to look at it through an Islamic perspective. And this is where Muraqabah comes in. Muraqabah is what I call a higher level of mindfulness. It's the elevated level of mindfulness. So it's not just that you're a witness over your experiences. It's not just that you're watching over yourself. Muraqabah is that you also are very aware and you're building that muscle and that sensitivity to Allah's watchfulness over you, Allah's watchfulness over your own thoughts, your own emotions, your inner world, your nafs coming up, your heart shifts, all these things that are happening within you. Muraqabah is that as you are a witness over that, over your inner world, you know that you have someone who is ar-Raqib. You have the one who is ar-Raqib, which means the one who watches over. And that is one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names, is that he is the one that, he is the vigilant witness. SubhanAllah, remember I said mindfulness is that you're a witness, right? You're bearing witness to what's happening within you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ar-Raqib. He is the vigilant witness. He acts as a guardian, right? Who watches over everything, and he sees not only just what you see, of course, Allah sees what is even hidden from you. So not just externally, but also internally. Allah sees what is hidden within yourself, the things that you are veiled from within yourself, the things that you don't have knowledge of within yourself. And that's why even when it comes to understanding who we are and knowing ourselves, we only want to know what is beneficial. When we seek knowledge, we're taught to say, Allahumma as'alaka ilman nafi'an wa a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa'. Oh Allah, I ask you for knowledge that benefits, and I seek refuge in you from knowledge that does not benefit. But we forget to apply that when it comes to gaining knowledge about who we are. We don't want to know everything about ourselves. We don't need to know everything about ourselves. We need to know what will benefit us on this short journey in this world, on this short, experience, this human experience that we're all journeying through. I just want to know what benefits me. So Ya Allah, show me what I need to know about myself that will bring me closer to you. Make me connected to what is important that comes up within me, the important aspects I need to know about my nafs. When does my nafs come up? What is my nafs attached to? Make me aware of what I need to be aware about, who I am, about myself, and the inner workings of myself, so that I can become closer to you, so that I can grow spiritually. This is where the saying in our faith, in our tradition, said by many of the early scholars, Man arafa nafsahu, arafa rabbahu. Whoever knows himself knows his Lord. So there's a connection here. Knowing yourself points you to the one who created you. Just as when you look at a painting, a beautiful work of art, you want to know the artist. So you want everything that comes up within you to be a means of knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and connecting you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because we are not the destination. We are not the Rabb of ourselves. I am not the Lord of myself. And if I try to make myself the destination, I will be burdened in a way that I cannot bear. Because we have a Rabb. We have the source of everything we need. We are not the master of ourselves. And a lot of people struggle because they start treating themselves as a destination where their mindfulness ends with themselves. And this is why we don't just need mindfulness, we need the higher level of mindfulness, which is Muraqabah. This heightened sensitivity and connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's watchfulness over us. Him watching over us, guarding over us, seeing what is hidden within us. And this creates a sense of humility, even when it comes to how we engage in certain actions, that you are sensitive to Allah being watchful over your intentions when you're about to do something. Let me pause. What is my intention? Is it seeking Allah, or is it seeking the people? And this is a skill you start, really getting better, and you as the more you work on this, the more you really do not want to engage in anything without that pause. And if you do, because we forget, you're going to remind yourself and say, this action, I wish I paused. I wish I set an intention. And you could say in that moment, Ya Allah, please forgive me. Please accept it from me for your sake. We always have an opportunity to renew our intentions and direct it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But muraqabah, when you start gaining this sensitivity to Allah being watchful over you, Allah being as-Sami' al-Basir over us, seeing what is hidden and knowing the secrets of every soul, and and rewarding us for any good that He sees within us, and He sees us manifest through or express any goodness that we express through our actions. When you have this heightened awareness and this heightened connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you start becoming more intentional. So that's when you start becoming more present, not just with Allah, but with what you're about to engage in, because you're connected to Allah's watchfulness over you. So any moment you can become awakened to that moment, even though you might be doing something, engaging in something that you do every day. But when you start engaging in muraqabah, and you start, you could be cooking, you could be going to work, you could be doing something that is so mundane that you think is just a normal part of your life, but then you start connecting to Allah being ar-Raqib, Allah being ar-Raqib with you, Allah being watchful over you. And you find that your heart starts to awaken. Your heart starts to come alive. A lot of us are living, but we're not alive. We're just going through the motions. And a lot of people look at their lives as ordinary, when there are so many moments that can be extraordinary just by connecting it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I am saying this right now and you're hearing it, but you can only experience this through action, through you saying, even after this talk, and you say, if you're going to go clean something, if you're going to go sit with your child, if you're going to go cook a meal, if you're going to go prepare for work, engage in it now with this heightened sense of Allah is with me. Allah is watchful over me. Allah sees my intentions. He sees what is hidden, even what I don't see. He's the protector over me. He's guarding over me. So you're engaging in that action with Allah, directing your heart towards Him, directing that qalb, turning the qalb towards Him, directing that intention towards Him, and seeking a reward from Him, knowing that He is the only one that truly rewards. And that is really one of the characteristics of ikhlas, is that it's enough for you that Allah is a witness over your action, and you know deeply that only Allah can reward you. That really what you get from the people is insignificant. And what you're truly seeking is the value of that action with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so one of the benefits also, in addition to being more intentional, more present, more awakened, more connected to your life, you stop going on cruise control and you find that, wow, I have the opportunity to make anything I do ibadah. And this is essentially what we have the power to do, what is the blessing of Islam, is everything can be directed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when it comes to our thoughts, which is so crucial for us, to really become better at selecting. I always say we have to learn to select our thoughts the way that we select good food. We want to eat what is healthy, what is nutritious. We want to wear good clothes. We want to absorb what is tayyib, what is good, not something that is harmful. It's the same thing with our thoughts. We often think that the thoughts are what control us. And we know a lot of people have not learned how to master their thoughts. And this is a lifelong skill. And it's not about arriving at perfection. It's about just learning how to engage with your thoughts. And this is one of the reasons why I developed the heart over mind and ego method, to teach people how to interact with this mind, because in the world we live in, we treat this mind as almost something we worship. In this world that prioritizes intelligence and how much you know and what is measurable and what is seen, many people treat this mind as the final authority of everything that, of the final authority of who we are, the final authority of what happens to us. And this is why so many people are living in their mind, and they're not really living, because when you live in your mind, you're a prisoner of your mind. And what we want to do is we want to put the mind in its place. We want to understand that the mind is powerful. It's a miracle. It's something that is beautiful, and is something that is an amazing tool that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us to learn to interact with our world, make sense of our world, absorb and process what we absorb as well. But it is not the final authority. It is what also requires humbling. It is what requires direction. We cannot believe every thought we have. So one of the core teachings of the home method, the heart over mind and ego method, is that every thought you have is real, meaning that it's an experience. So it's real. It's not like you deny that you had that thought. It's a real experience. Every thought you have is real, but not every thought you have is true. And a lot of people believe every single thought they have. And when they're not practicing mindfulness and muraqabah and really building that tolerance for sitting with discomfort, thoughts that are uncomfortable, even thoughts that are disturbing, emotions that are uncomfortable, people become at the mercy of their thoughts and emotions. So anything disturbing, anything difficult, they just want to escape it. They want to soothe immediately. They want to run from it because they're scared of it, because it creates fear for them internally. But when you build this muscle and you understand, wait a minute, my mind is not the authority of who I am and what is true and what Allah has in store for me. Let me assess this thought. Let me be a witness over this thought. And knowing that Allah is watchful over me and He knows what is true about me. For example, many people who deal with waswasa, extreme waswasa, because everyone has waswasa, shaitan will whisper to everyone, right? But many people deal with waswasa that is very difficult to deal with and very intrusive. People deal with OCD, where they have the clinical disorder of OCD and they experience constant intrusive thoughts that are very disturbing, very anxiety provoking. Learning how to not believe every thought can be really powerful for people who struggle with this, because you get a thought and it disturbs you. And you're like, where did that thought come from? Is that really what I believe? And people will be so troubled because they had that thought, not realizing that thoughts, they can come from Allah. We know this Islamically, they can come from shaitan, or they can come from ourselves. So, but when you don't practice muraqabah, when you don't learn how to sit and hold the space for them, any disturbing thought, you're just going to want to run. So when you're in this mode of escaping constantly, you don't really give yourself the time to connect with what's happening and to assess what is true and what isn't. You're just running off fear. So building that muscle of sitting with something and understanding that shaitan will whisper intrusive thoughts that are disturbing. Sometimes people get thoughts about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they can't even speak of, thoughts that they have about themselves, thoughts that they have about others, thoughts that they have about themselves that make them question themselves, right? And we have to understand that, like, if you're constantly believing every thought you have, then you're letting that thought become your guide, almost like your Rabb. And so knowing that these thoughts are something that I have the power to navigate and direct in the right direction. And knowing that I can sit with a thought and assess if it is true, if it is aligned with the Quran and Sunnah. And we understand, even through our faith, that the best of people get the most disturbing of thoughts. The companions themselves went to the Prophet ﷺ and they said to him, we get thoughts that we cannot even speak of. And what did the Prophet ﷺ tell them? He said to them, this is a sign of clear iman, clear faith. So the more you have iman, the more shaitan is going to whisper into your being about, more that you're going to experience waswasa essentially. I met someone who told me that they would get extreme waswasa in prayer. And so much so that it became very difficult to pray. And it became so difficult that, subhanAllah, it led them to abandon prayer. But you know what made them come back to prayer? Is that when they stopped praying, the waswasa stopped. So they realized shaitan was there standing, trying to make prayer a burden for them. And it stopped once she abandoned the most valuable thing she can do. Shaitan will always stand for you in front of the things that are most valuable to you, the things that you deem a priority. So the companions themselves, they got thoughts that were so disturbing they could not even say to the Prophet ﷺ. But that's because they were amongst the best of people. And shaitan was standing on their path, making them doubt themselves. And this is what shaitan does. He wants you to doubt who you are. He wants you to doubt who Allah is. He wants you to doubt, the goodness within you. He wants you to, because when you're in a state of self-doubt, you use so much mental energy, so much emotional energy towards that doubt. So you find yourself more exhausted, more scattered, constantly in a state of questioning yourself. And you're not using that energy to actually believe in who Allah is. So the power of Muraqabah is that you're connected to who Allah is and what He has said about Himself, what He has said about the truths that He has connected to us, about this dunya, about our aqeedah, about what is false and what is true, what is haqq and what is batil. When you are connected to Allah, the more that Allah's words take power over these fleeting thoughts that come and go. So as these thoughts come and go, you're basically, the more you do this work, the more you practice being a witness and saying, wait a minute, is this thought even aligned with the Quran and Sunnah? Is this thought even aligned with what I believe? No, it isn't. I'm going to let it pass. I'm going to let it pass. If you struggle with intrusive thoughts, I always tell people to imagine that, there's like a bully that's standing there and is coming to you and saying, you're this and you're that, you're stupid or you're ugly or this, right? If you react, the bully knows what? It worked. I got a reaction out of you. But if you pause and you're like, okay, so what? So what? You say that, and you just show that you don't care. It affects the bully. It knows that, that didn't have an effect on them. Eventually, he's not going to use the same tactic. It's the same thing. The more that you can build this muscle of letting disturbing thoughts or even negative thoughts that are not useful, are not helpful, it doesn't have to be intrusive thoughts. It could be just negative thoughts that affect everything else, because you have to understand that your thoughts affect your emotions, which then affect your behaviors. The thoughts are really such a lot of the difficult emotions that people feel, a lot of the difficult behaviors or bad habits that people engage in can be taken back to their thoughts and beliefs about who they are, about who Allah is. And many people don't realize that it's a chain. And this is something we know in cognitive behavioral psychology, which is something that was, this is something that is in Western psychology that was just brought to Western psychology over the last, maybe 100 years ago. But this is something that the early scholars talked about. This is something that Imam al-Ghazali talked about, rahimahullah. This is something that Ibn Qayyim, rahimahullah, talked about. Imam al-Ghazali, he tells us that if the first inward evil or negative thought is not nipped at its bud, it basically grows. I'm paraphrasing what he says, but it basically grows. It affects your states. He says it affects your emotions, your states, which then in turn affect your behaviors. This is what we know now in cognitive behavioral psychology. But Ibn Qayyim, rahimahullah, he also says, repel the thought, he's talking about negative thoughts. He says, repel the thought, for if you don't, it becomes an idea. So repel the idea, for if you don't, it will become a desire. So fight against that desire, for if you don't, it will become a determination and a passion, something that is more like consistent and has more power over you. And if you don't repel that, it will become an action. And if you don't replace it with its opposite, it will become a constant habit. So at that point, it will be difficult for you to change it. So this is why we have to really be selective of our thoughts. We can't just wait until things escalate and it becomes harder for it to be controlled. So if you can get to a point where you can recognize a negative thought that comes up when it does come up, then and to be able to channel it in the right direction, even if you don't know what to do with it, because not every time you might not be able to know what to do with that thought or recognize, where that comes from, but for you to be able to channel it, to say astaghfirullah if you have a negative thought. Dhikr has such a powerful cognitive restructuring component. It has the power to intercept the spiraling of negative thoughts. So you feel, you recognize a negative thought, astaghfirullah. Get up and do something good. Go do something different. Because what that does is that dhikr then intercepts that thought and prevents it from becoming more than it is. When people make a mountain out of a molehill, right? Making something small so big. A lot of it starts in our thinking. A lot of it starts in our thought. Have you ever found yourself like you're having a good day and then all of a sudden you're in such a bad emotional state? We can bring it back to a thought you had. Because if nothing external happened that really contributed to it, we can bring it back to a thought. But even if something external happened, the way you were thinking about those things contributed to your emotional state. So in cognitive behavioral psychology, we say that it's not necessarily your external circumstances that produce emotions. It's how you interpret and how you think about your external circumstances that affect how you feel about them. So what you think and how you manage your emotions and your thoughts and your ability to practice mindfulness and hold space for those thoughts and emotions without judgment, without value, and then being able to elevate and direct it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Him for help. The more you do this, the more that you direct everything towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the essence of Tawheed. It's that you center everything you experience around Allah, externally and internally, good and bad, difficult emotions, easy emotions, happiness, sadness. You direct it all to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you say, Ya Allah, you have a negative thought, astaghfirullah. Ya Allah, please align my thoughts with what is pleasing to you. You have a difficult emotion, Ya Allah, you pick a name of Allah that matches that emotion. You don't feel enough, you have Al-Mughni. You don't feel loved, you have Al-Wadud, the most loving. You don't feel appreciated, you have Ash-Shakur, the one who is the most appreciated. You feel sadness, you don't feel at peace, you have As-Salam, the source of all peace. So the more you actually hold this space for your emotions, the more you gain the capacity and you give yourself the room to take it all to Allah, to the one who aligns, the one who orders everything for you, the one who makes you derive meaning from the things that you experience externally and internally. All right, I will stop here to take maybe a question or two. How to deal with automatic thoughts which cause extreme fear in me, even on petty things. Automatic thoughts are usually rooted in negative core beliefs. So core beliefs are more permanent beliefs that you've had, more like long-term beliefs that you've had that are causing you to have automatic thoughts. So automatic thoughts are those immediate reactive thoughts that you have about something that happens to you. So for example, you get rejected from a job, you have the automatic thought of, I'm a failure, I'll never be successful. That's an automatic thought, but that's rooted in a deeper core belief. So we know that all of us have accumulated core beliefs throughout our lives. Core beliefs about who we are, core beliefs about who Allah is, core beliefs about our world, and many people don't assess them. The way that you can find out you have a negative core belief is through automatic thoughts, through your automatic reactions. If you find yourself engaging in a negative immediate reaction towards something consistently, then you know that you're running on a core belief that is not healthy. Maybe you think negatively about yourself. Where did you learn that core belief that you're a failure? Where did you learn that core belief that you're unlovable? Where did you learn that core belief that Allah is not going to give you what you ask for? Where did you learn these things? And this is why this inner work is so important. But you can't arrive at these things without mindfulness, without muraqabah, without holding that space and building that muscle of sitting with yourself and sitting with these things. Oh, I notice that I react this way every single time this happens. Why do I do that? What is that rooted in? And if you can't do it on your own, seek the professional help of those who are qualified to do so, who can hold the space for you and help you navigate that, because it can be hard to really figure out what our core beliefs are. And it's good to have someone who can be a mirror to us and see what we do not see. All right. I will stop here, inshallah. Jazakum Allah khair, and I will see you next time. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.